the questions you're burning to ask directly to her here on the screen. So just a few moments time, moving on to our next session with Cathie Wood from ARK Invest. Ladies and gentlemen, we are about to commence right now, again, with something a little bit special. May I ask also, those of you that are in the corridor behind, fantastic, if you can just take those conversations behind you into the other areas for those conversations to move forward. Thank you so much, so we can really focus on this stage and what's going to unfold right now. As you can see here, a picture of Cathie Wood, founder and CEO of ARK Investment Management. That's going to turn into, hopefully, Cathie Wood on the screen. It does. Fantastic. Cathie Wood, thank you so much. Round of applause. Two things. You've frozen, and I don't know whether you heard the applause. Are you there? You look great. Cathie, are you there? We're beaming through. We're getting through.
Phew.
Hi, Cathie. First of all, can you see us and can you hear us? Round of applause once again.
I can see you, and I can hear you.
We kind of saw you. We did hear you. You're freezing up. We're going to try and get through this, hopefully. Again, looking great. There we are. I think we're back.
Sorry. I think what's happening is other people in our firm are trying to log in, and it's kicking me off. So can you hear me, Peter?
Well, you're with us right now. You can see us. You can hear us. We can see you. Let's hopefully take this forward as it unfolds. This is a session. Essentially, we have a lot of people here. A lot of people, I guess, are some would be fans of yours. Some will be certainly admirers as well. And I'm sure in the room there are many here that would just love to ask a burning question to kind of maybe pick your brains, or just to kind of get a feel of really what you're doing and what's kind of inside your brain. It sounds technical, but it's very, very simple. So this is how it's going to work. You simply put up your hand, we come around with a microphone, and you ask your question to Cathie. How does that sound? That sound good?
Great. Thank
Great.
you.
Does it sound good? Yes, it does. Right. Okay. Well, let's start with any questions here in the hall. First question here.
Hi, Cathie. Big fan of yours. Are you aware of BitTensor at all?
BitTensor?
Yes.
No. In the AI chip world, we own Tensor Torrent, but no, BitTensor. My guess is my team does, and the risk with a Q&A session, of course, is you'll see how much I do rely on my team. But we have not done anything with BitTensor, and we actually haven't talked about it a lot. So maybe we should. Should we? Yes. Okay. I will bring that back.
Okay, another question. We'll just pop up your hand and we'll give you the microphone.
Hi, Cathie. So just a question for you. Outside of stable coins and payment rails, where do you see the biggest potential for blockchain? And where do you see the greatest potential for adoption in normal society? Outside of payment rails and stablecoin.
Okay, it's so interesting. I mean, we were the cornerstone investor in Circle, and it's interesting that this group wants to move behind that because most of the traditional financial world is trying to figure out what just happened and why this seems so important. I think this is an important moment for the industry, for TradFi and DeFi to start talking to one another in a more provocative, intense, creative way. So beyond stablecoins and payment rails, which are huge opportunities, of course, I think that's the message from what has happened to Circle. And I think someone on the previous panel called it its behavior. It was acting like a meme coin. I think with companies like Alphabet and Amazon and one other one, Meta, saying that they're looking at using stable coins, that just gives you a sense of the explosive growth that could take place out there. And really accelerate everything that everyone in this room is excited about. So in terms of the way we look at the world now, I'm not sure if many will like what I'm about to say, but when we're thinking about this revolution, broadly defined, we define it as a money revolution, Bitcoin, and of course a financial services revolution with Ethereum and Solana front and center there. And then more broadly, just, for the first time ever, and I think this is what surprises the traditional world as they're trying to understand what's going on, really bringing immutable digital property rights to the world for the first time, which is also a very big idea. So we're still in this stage. Again, I'm much more coming at this from the traditional world and the economics world and the tech world, saying, these are very big ideas which our industry, TradFi, is still trying to understand. So we spend a lot of our time educating the basics. I learned a lot from the last panel. I didn't know about layer 5, 6, and 7. I found that interesting, and this need to maybe deepen the connections there. I found that very interesting. And just generally on the last panel, I agreed completely with the notion that the convergence between AI and blockchain technologies is going to create an explosion of activity as we move into agentic AI and, basically not just as consumers, but businesses and business to business. So I I know I'm not answering your question because you probably want me to give you one of the long tail crypto assets, but we're still trying to help people understand what this is, big picture, and how big and really all consuming it's going to become.
Fantastic. Another question, just raise your hand. Here we are.
Yeah, hi Cathie, Josh here. So we've seen President Trump and Elon Musk fall out, throw their toys out the pram. It's a pretty public event. Some would argue it's a prime example of large business relying on governments. And we've also got things like Coinbase and Circle in the stablecoin space IPOing. Do you have an opinion on decentralized autonomous organizations and where that side of crypto fits into this, agentic AI and traditional business taking over crypto? Where do DAOs fit in?
Yeah, I do believe, agree with the concept that, just a handful of people, or maybe two handfuls of people, will be able to create, billion-dollar companies, unicorns, through decentralized, through DAOs. So you've got a believer there. In fact, Yassine El-Mandra, who used to head up our digital asset strategy and still serves as an advisor to ARK, and I think only to ARK from a crypto point of view. He is so taken with this idea, and especially the convergence between blockchain technologies, full believer in decentralization, the bigger the better. I mean, the more distributed, the more decentralized, the better. That he has gone off to help start one of those companies. So, and he's one of the smartest people I know in crypto, and I trust his judgment on this. I think we're going to see it, and as time goes on, we'll find a way to insinuate ourselves into this new world.
Fantastic. Again, hands up, and we'll come around with a microphone. There we are.
How do you see the stablecoin race playing out? Clearly, we have had a plethora of stablecoins launched recently, and Plasma just launched yesterday. You clearly have a horse in the race with Circle. So yeah, I'd just like to hear your thoughts on this.
Yeah, I think this is subject to the network effect. I think Circle, in terms of the fusion, to the extent it's going to happen, of traditional TradFi and DeFi, which I know many in this audience will not be very keen to see. But it is going to happen, especially with the Genius Act coming to a vote in the Senate this week. It was we just learned today, I think on Wednesday. So we think that we think that a lot of banks will experiment with starting their own stablecoins, but we think the network effects here are just too powerful. And I think what Circle is going to try and do, and I've known Jeremy Allaire for quite some time, he is, as he's built his business, the most regulatory compliant, of course, much more than Tether not being allowed in the United States, for example. He is going to try and become, is going to try to integrate, be the way that TradFi integrates into the DeFi world. So I think this is going to submit to, the network effect. So 2, 3, maybe 4 major players. So that would be our take. I'd like to pivot back to the last question because there was the Musk-Trump start of the question. And, I think you'll be surprised by Elon Musk and how he will insinuate himself into this new world. I mean, I think he's had on his mind ever since his first payments company how to get back and become a part of the game. So don't underestimate what he'll be able to do. And I think in terms of what he was trying to do, he was trying to get big government out of our hair. And I think this administration is trying to do the same. I see this well, first of all over the place, but most importantly and provocatively, now in healthcare, the deregulation that we're seeing there is unbelievable in this short period of time, with AI being a huge catalyst. And I think that the government that we have in place right now, from a deregulation point of view, and live and let live, and become number one, and remain number one in innovation around this space and many other spaces. I think we've got an administration that is very supportive of this. And it's not like I'm defending like the bad behavior that we've seen recently. And there may be a behind the scenes story there that I think will be very interesting as we learn more about it. But I think that the two individuals you've mentioned are really trying to make things happen, and trying to level the playing field for what AI is going to be able to deliver.
Hello, Cathie.
Yes.
Taking into account that the stablecoin adoption and growth is going to happen soon, what would be the best token or coin to invest and capture this trend? Would it be a layer 1 token or a decentralized application token?
And I'm sorry, the preface to the question was what is going to happen soon?
Yeah, like the stablecoin adoption and growth is happening.
Yes.
What would be the smartest way to capture all this growth? To invest in a token or coin, and if it's to invest in a token or coin, would be to invest in a layer 1 token like Ethereum or Solana, or a decentralized application token like Ethena or Ondo?
Yeah, again, this is going to be one more we have 3 full-time people on crypto and 1 half-time, so 3.5 people focused on crypto. So in terms of the second question, I know I've heard conversations about this topic, but in terms of the best way to play stable coins, again, I work in the public markets. We do have private funds. They're small, and we're just starting out. And over time, I'm going to become much conversant and in this whole space, delineating the difference. In terms of just Ethereum and Solana broadly, the way I have distilled it is Ethereum is probably going to be where a lot more institutional activity is going to take place. Now, I know a lot of Solana fans, yes, say it will happen on Solana. I'm sure it will. But in terms of what we see happening right now, I think the total value locked on Ethereum is 50 billion, and on Solana 7 billion. And in terms of the capital per active address, it's 200 on Solana and 25,000 on Ethereum. So I think as the important thing that we're focused on right now is, okay, how are institutions going to migrate into this new asset class? Now, I know a lot of you are entrepreneurs, and you've got a lot of other stuff going on that that Ethereum and Solana will enable. But in terms of big money moving in, and I totally understand the centralization versus decentralization question, and we as the issuer of the ARKB, a spot Bitcoin ETF, are very sensitive to this topic, because that is a centralization vector, and yet it's going to be the first step for many investors will take, and then they will learn more, and then they ultimately will have their own wallets and participate more fully. So we feel like we're providing a public service. Certainly, we're not making any money on it, and don't intend to. We think this is a very important stepping stone. But as far as institutions moving in, I think the decentralization, the relative decentralization of Ethereum to Solana is probably the reason Ethereum will remain more institutional, and Solana will remain more consumer-centric. I don't know if that helps you at all, but that is the way that we're thinking about it. And, many people, when we throw out our Bitcoin price target, our bull case 1.5 million by 2030, it is because of this gusher of institutional funds that absolutely must focus on this space, because we and others are proving that it is a completely new asset class. And, institutions, asset allocators have a fiduciary responsibility to investigate a new asset class, because it holds the promise for increasing risk-adjusted returns, because the correlation, the behavior of this asset class is so different from traditional. So, this wall of money is going to make its way, starting in Bitcoin. I think it'll move into Ethereum as well, and to the extent Solana, and those are the big three. I think those are the three most are talking about and actually doing the most research on. I think that's where you're going to see a wall of money. The rest of the ecosystem is going to be built out by, very creative and forward-thinking individuals. So I think it's wonderful that the entire ecosystem has both institutional and individual or entrepreneurial zeal associated with it. It's probably going to make it happen faster than any of us could possibly have believed a few years ago.
Hello, Cathie. My name is Christian Beza from RTDX. I have a blunt question. The mother of all markets is a debt market. It's $130 trillion or $150 trillion. So inside this market, you have a bonds market or a debt market. It's something like $1.5 trillion. So some banks or platforms, they tokenize debts. They tokenize bonds. They tokenize debts. Okay. So my question is, what is your opinion for if we try to create a special purpose vehicle to make money on this market? That means tokenize. We can call that stable bonds or stable debts. Again, stable coin. You agree? So it's stable bonds, again, stable coin. So coin is not a currency, you know that, but stable bonds is linked to money creation. So the question, can we make money on this market, which is huge, you agree? And big competition.
It is huge. And the opportunity here is taking a very opaque market and making it much more transparent, because that's what this will demand. And it must happen. I can tell you there's so much bad behavior taking place in the bond market right now. I'm seeing, the reach for yield by private credit funds is causing some very unusual behavior. And most important from my point of view, if you look at high yield spread, so the high yields relative to 10-year treasury bonds, they've narrowed substantially, and yet the risks have increased. And there are many in our industry who are quite worried about this. So I think that we're in a bit of a debt bubble, to be honest. And I think that the good behavior that being brought on chain would cause I think what will happen is the movement on chain is going to accelerate as more and more people find out the kind of bad behavior, the structured instruments that are being created, a little bit like the collateralized, the CMOs, collateralized mortgage obligations during or right before the real estate crisis. They were packaging mortgages together. They were all subprime, but they were very well diversified throughout the United States. And so what did the banks do? They slapped a AAA rating on it because of that quote unquote diversification, or you can say decentralization. That was a recipe for disaster. Disaster happened. And frankly, I'm looking at the same thing happening now in the private credit market, how the structured market is slicing and dicing that market and doing the same thing all over again. So I welcome it. I'd be a champion, a big advocate for it moving on chain. And the other thing, just to, what's fascinating to me, having been educated during the time when petrodollars were exploding, so that was in the 70s, of course, what we're seeing with stablecoins here, $250 billion total value locked, I mean, pretty amazing, is a demand for treasury securities could explode here. What I would say, and again, have taken a lot of lessons from my former professor, now advisor and friend, Art Laffer, who believes that stable coins should be backed by something like a commodity basket or gold. And we're probably going to write a paper on that. But meanwhile, we've got now, if we're right on where stable coins are going explosively, a new demand for debt now that China and other markets want to de-dollarize and get out of US debt. So it's a little bit of a savior for us in the short term.
Cathie, I have in front of me here, in Paris, so many other people who'd like to ask questions. Unfortunately, because of time, we can't continue with this. Again, this is the kind of session that could just continue and continue with lots more questions to pose to you. Listen, Cathie, we thank you so much for sharing your ideas, sharing your perspective. Can you hear that? Can you hear that?
Yes. And can I just say one more thing? I want to just say that I'm very honored. Thank you, CoinDesk. And I know that they just awarded AI and Web3 top women. So very honored to be a part of the clan.
Although you're not here physically, you're here through a screen, so the next best thing. And hopefully, we'll see you physically here in Paris for our next edition. Ladies and gentlemen, once again, give it up for Cathie Wood. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Right.